Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Live here, and today we're reviewing for you Mario Tennis Fever on the Nintendo Switch 2. This review was originally written by the wonderful PJ O'Reilly and has been adapted for video by me. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling. Let's dive right into things. Tennis as a sport isn't exactly new to the world of video games. Hell, even Mario himself has had a good few stabs at it in the past. Most recently, excluding this one, with Mario Tennis Aces. Aces had a fair amount going for it, but the whole trick shot system never quite gelled with us, disrupting the flow more than aiding in the excitement. But now we've got Mario Tennis Fever, a game we expected to enjoy but put down fairly quickly in favour of getting back to Tennis Elbow 4. Now there's a Switch 2 port we'd like to see. It seems this time out though, Camelot has other ideas, as with this first serving of Switch 2 Mario Tennis action, we've finally got wacky Mushroom Kingdom mechanics that sing ever so sweetly, and an arcade tennis effort that might be the very first where we'd actually rather keep the special powers switched on. But they can be switched off, just chill out, The key to this, firstly, is the introduction of the game's titular Fever rackets. There's a generous selection of powered-up tennis sticks to choose from, and each one imbues your chosen character with a fun trick. Hell, you can even equip two of them at a time in certain modes, although you will have to switch between them manually. It's not like you get two effects at once. Now, we're sure you've seen lots of these by now, and maybe it all seems a little old hat when you first lay eyes on the usual array of elemental-based shenanigans. There's a simplicity here, though, that overcomes the overcomplicated and messy vibe that we keenly felt in Aces. Each character on the game's lovely big colourful roster of Nintendo favourites has their own base stats, and you can then choose any racket you've unlocked, we won't spoil all of them here, in order to use their special powers. So you've got a few layers of strategy and stats, but it's also immediately obvious how everything works, and we don't even need to worry about flicking sticks around for a variety of special moves, or any of that tempo-ruining nonsense. The next crucial aspect is how powers are displayed. Choosing a Fever racket, let's say we've got the game's Ice racket and our opponent has the Twister-producing Typhoo racket, a match starts as normal, and as we play, we build our Fever gauges. When full, we can pull off a Fever shot, which, once it lands on the ground, will produce the Fever effect intended. Keep it from hitting the ground, however, in what's often a very intense rally, and the window for its power to take effect will eventually run out. So, through skill, you can stop an opponent from using their power. And what's more, you can ensure that you bring it crashing down on their side of the court to have them eat their own punishment. In this simplicity, we are gifted a game that gives us the sort of feeling usually reserved for true multiplayer greats like Mario Kart. Each racket's ability is easy to comprehend. It's easy to read how a mudslick might affect a game, for example, and by keeping it simple in this way, players are free to focus on movement and proper tennis strategy at the same time. That's not to say it doesn't get crazy with piranha plants and fire and all that stuff, it absolutely does. But it feels much more controlled and concise in what it wants from you as a player. So we get a balance that means we're happy to play with these powers engaged at all times, which might well be a first. By allowing the player to move around the court normally, to utilize the usual array of slices and spins, lobs and net shots freely, and without making them do somersaults or slow-motion physical feats that ruin the flow of the ball smacking every 10 seconds, we're on to a winner. In fact, in the midst of a tournament match and against some surprisingly smart CPU players, even the doubles partners are good, the pairing of wild powers with more realistic movement parameters makes for a game that we cannot wait to jump into online. Indeed, it feels as though it may well have that very special sort of Mario Kart Online magic that many feel is currently missing from the latest iteration in that series. Even in the ever-present Star Shots, things have been made to feel as though Camelot has considered everything much more carefully. Rather than launching us into the air and wasting our time or any of that kind of caper, getting onto one of these simply gives you a one-off, more powerful shot. Again, not messing so much with the core tennis that it's affected. Now onto the one actual problem. Modes! We were hoping that the adventure campaign was going to have some special RPG magic for single players, but alas, it's 3 to 4 hours of basically learning how to play. You do get a few fun face-offs, and it's always a laugh, but it's short and fairly basic in what it sets out to do, with a handful of boss fights that have you pick the right shot to do damage. You know the drill. This continues in the game's tournament and trial tower offerings. They're good while they last and surprisingly challenging on harder settings, but we want more! For a strictly solo player, there's not a lot to pick at over time here, even with the mini-games of Mix It Up, shooting hoops for points, anyone? And a rather lackluster motion control mode that we tried and turned off, as it's not one-to-one and it feels like a faff. With more than one player though, there are plenty of ways to play locally with pals, and online lobbies feel like where we're going to end up spending most of our time. Matches we played, which are split into favour and non-favour racket variants of singles and doubles, were quick to find and lag-free in our admittedly limited review period experience. You can also play tournaments and trials in co-op, which definitely gives these modes more legs, and the free play allows up to 4 players to mix up the rules, switch favour rackets off, and play best of 5 set stunners that'll have you all sweating buckets. It's lucky, given the disappointing adventure offering, that the tennis here is so sweet and easily the sort of thing that we reckon has a long online life ahead. It helps too that it looks absolutely superb, never dropping a notable frame in docked or handheld. With 14 courts replete with environmental gimmicks that can be switched off, 38 characters, 30 racket types to dig into mastering, this is 100% one of the best Mario Tennis games to date, and one that we can see being a hit online for some time to come. Mario Tennis Fever serves up PJ's favourite game in the series thus far by finding an addictive balance between Mario's madcap antics and real-world tennis fun. Streamlining superpowers into Fever rackets makes everything easier to pass, and keeping player movement relatively restrained makes for tennis matches that retain an exciting flow without the constant slow-mo interruptions. The adventure mode is a letdown, and solo players don't have a ton of options, but there's depth and strategy at the core here that should see this one ace things online for some time to come. Mario Tennis Fever, you're getting an 8 out of 10 from us. You've reached the end of the review, and that means it's time for Alex's personal thoughts, and I don't have an awful lot to add, to be honest. I think PJ's been very, very thorough, but I will take you through my experiences with adventure mode, because it's a roller coaster. When I started it, I assumed it was going to be something relatively straightforward and relatively minor, uninteresting, nothing much to write home about, to be honest. And then you end up with this opening cutscene that is absolutely, stunning. Stunningly gorgeous. Seriously, YouTube's compression does not do it justice. And you get this setup, all the characters have been turned into babies. All right, not all the characters, but a lot of the characters have been turned into babies. And you've got to, relearn how to do tennis. The first time you start hitting things over a net, Baby Mario, who you have to play as, just can't even get the ball over the net. Which I thought was a really nice little thing to sort of go, oh wow, yeah, you're gonna have to learn things from the start. And then you start doing stuff and you see the stats appear. And it's like, oh my god, this is like an RPG. This is like a tennis RPG at long last. And you see the area, the tennis academy, and it's this large sprawling area. You see all these characters roaming around. And I got really excited. I got really positive about it. And that slowly started to wane over time. You get these mini games and stuff like that where you build up your skill in certain shots somehow. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it doesn't need to. It doesn't need to. And these are fun little sort of almost Mario Party style mini games, and they've got various different levels, and the levels get harder and harder as you might expect, and they can be really quite challenging and fun, and I was really enjoying them. And then I was in the academy for 2 hours just learning how to do lob shots and stuff. And I was like, okay, they're really feels like they're dragging this out here. And you get quizzes asking you, oh, what would you do if you want to bring your opponent closer to the net? A drop shot, really simple questions like that. Feels like a missed opportunity to have genuine tennis terms learned. That could have been quite useful and, well, as much as anything, genuinely interesting. And then eventually you're allowed to leave the academy, and I'm like, right, okay, the game starts here, and you see an overworld, and you're like, oh wow, there's going to be all these areas. Are these each going to be as long as the academy? That actually sounds really meaty, and no, they're not. They're so short. They're fun. I like them. I like the fact that you're given these sort of strange different little challenges that are almost like little boss fights. And it's just an interesting different way. At one point you have a boss fight against Bowser's airship, with Baby Wario and Baby Waluigi against you, and you've got to hit back the bombs and hit back bullet bills, and it's nothing out of this world, but it was really quite cinematic, exciting, and I even took some damage at times. I really enjoyed it. And I thought, yes, this is what I wanted. And then, like, you go to, like, 2 other areas, well, alright, like 3 or 4 other areas, technically, after that, and then it's over. And it's just sort of like, oh. And it, you know, it just smacks of missed opportunity. The fact that, I mean, to be honest, I should have known that something was coming by the fact that your stats fill up blooming quickly when you're in the academy. It feels like, it's such a shame, because it really feels like so many other Mario sports games recently where it's like, hey, this is a great idea that they feel like they haven't fully developed and fully evolved. And as a result, it just feels disappointing. Like the base tennis stuff is really good. I really agree with PJ on that. I think the fever shots and everything like that are a really, really good inclusion to keep tensions up and, hitting them back. An enemy uses one, you got to try and hit it back and you end up with this ridiculously fast rally. It's great fun. It really, really is. But the adventure mode kind of set me up with expectations, and I messaged, colleagues and stuff saying, oh god, there's like stats and stuff. Why weren't Nintendo leading with this? And I think it's because it's not what it initially sells. And I'm guessing maybe they didn't want to disappoint people or oversell the adventure mode. Like, it really has its moments, and it can be really good fun. Some of the bosses are great, but there's just not enough of it. Like, you can enter, like, an area, and you'll be out of it after, 10 or 15 minutes, and that's just not enough. That's just not enough. And there's no, like, items on the ground or anything like that to boost up your stats or give you, like, a temporary boost. That would have been a really cool thing. I really feel like Nintendo could do a, like, Mario Tennis RPG, just like a separate game entirely, call it Mario Tennis RPG, and do that. And I think that would be great. But, we are just going to have to live with what we've got. It's still a very good Mario Tennis game. I really enjoy it, but if you are a single player and you're not planning to play multiplayer, do keep your expectations in check, because adventure mode kind of teases more than it delivers. Sad times.
Oh,